Hello, everyone. This is Francesca Sampson. I am the founder of Takum, which is taking care of our mental health. And today I'm going to talk with you briefly on the differences of mental health and mental illness. Mental health and mental illness are not the same thing. I know there's been a lot of talk about mental health and sustaining our mental well being, especially during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of us, or almost all of us, our mental health was impacted for various factors during the COVID-19 pandemic. So mental health versus mental illness, because as I stated prior, they're not the same thing. All right, so mental health, this is according to the World Health Organization. It's a state of being when the individual realizes as his or own abilities to cope. So, mental health is your state of being. Everyone has mental health. Everyone's mental health is impacted at some point or the other. During life, there are a lot of stressors, some expected and some unexpected. So, it's the way that we identify that stressor, the way that we deal with that stressor, the way that we develop abilities to cope with these stressors. Some can be positive ways of coping, and some can be negative ways of coping. So, our mental health is just our state of being and basically identifying ways on how we deal with that stressor when it does arise, our ability to cope. Mental illness, on the other hand, that is a diagnosis. So it's a health condition, mental illness. Mental illness affects the way we think, it affects the way we feel, and it affects the way we behave. And also, not because mental illness is a diagnosis mean that we cannot incorporate those coping strategies that we have identified. There are several strategies that we can work along with. Let's say you have a mental illness and you're diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia and you're on medication. You can also incorporate your natural remedies with your prescribed medication or with whatever recommendation and techniques your doctor has suggested that you do. So it's always recommended that you just don't do your medication. It's recommended that you also incorporate natural remedies such as journaling, such as walk, such as diet and exercise, which we are going to talk about a little bit more. All right. So, in summary, mental health is your state of being, which is taking care of yourself, the ability, and how you deal with those stressors when they arrive, your positive coping mechanism. And mental illness is a distress disorder, it can be diagnosed. Some people may have a mental illness and they're undiagnosed. So, why is it essential for frontline workers to take care of their mental health? And not only frontline workers, but also everyone, because everyone should take care of their mental health. But frontline workers, they work with families who have history of trauma. They're on the front line. They're on the front line engaging with these crises. So they're more prone to experience things such as secondary traumatic stress, such as vicarious trauma, such as compassion fatigue, which is not mentioned here, but they are also prone to experience that. It impacts their job role and their functioning. And also, they can re traumatize their clients if they're not seeking the appropriate help, the appropriate assistance. Um, Again, to reflect on the COVID-19 pandemic, we see a lot of healthcare workers who some unfortunately committed suicide. And, there were some questions from the general public. Was this person had a good job? Why would they resort to suicide? A lot of reasons, undiagnosed mental health, mental illness, undiagnosed mental illnesses not being treated accordingly, just the impact of trauma, of engaging with families, engaging with people who have trauma on a daily basis and not dealing with those things accordingly, or dealing with those things effectively, and not seeking therapy themselves, not seeking help themselves, not listening to their bodies, just thinking that they can handle it, getting overwhelmed and not dealing with this thing. So it's a lot of different factors that can lead up to that. It's over time, it's usually long term. No one just don't wake up and say, oh, I'm going to hurt myself today because I can't deal with this. It's something that happens over time, over a period of time, sometimes years, years. So it's lengthy, very lengthy. All right. So everyone must practice self care. Everyone must practice self care. So, self care may sound like a big word, but sometimes it's just simple techniques, it's just simple things that we do. And what exactly is self care? Is a conscious act, a conscious decision that a person takes in order to promote their own physical, mental, and emotional health. So, you must do this consciously. You must intentionally say, I'm going to do this activity for myself. I'm going to do this for my own physical, my mental, or my emotional health, my emotional well being. And sometimes we're doing things and we don't even realize that it is self care that we're doing. Self care, like I said, it may sound like something, oh, extravagant that we need to be doing, but self care can be very, very simple techniques that can be effective and can be essential. But self care is is needed for everyone. And so let's go into ways that we can practice self care. Sleep, getting enough hours of sleep, getting adequate time of sleeping. I know sometimes we have so many things that we have to juggle, or so many things that we have to do that it disrupts our sleeping time, but getting enough time of sleep, that's a way of self care. Engaging in regular exercise, getting the exercise routine. If you want to sign up at a gym, if you want to be at home and do regular techniques at home, there's a lot of exercise video that show you simple things that you can do right in your home. You don't necessarily need to get a gym membership. Going to the park, jogging, walking, different things that you can do for your exercise routine. Healthy diet and eating habits. A lot of times we're on the go and it's hard to engage in the healthy eating habits. But healthy eating habits, it is essential to our self-care because what affects your mental health, what affects your physical health, and vice versa. So healthy diet and eating habits. Sometimes you have to say no to others and yes to yourself in order to self-care. Okay. And for some, it can be hard, but with practice, it can be done. You have to establish balance. You have to establish balance and know when it is time to say no and when is the adequate time to say yes. So that is a form of self care. Taking a trip, taking a self care trip. All right. A lot of people take solo vacations. There's nothing wrong with taking a solo vacation. And I would also like to add, even taking a solo breakfast or a solo dinner or a solo movie. Those are all self care tips. It doesn't have to be something such as a trip, it could be something such as going to a diner and having breakfast with yourself. Getting a pet. Pets can be very, very soothing, very therapeutic. A lot of therapists would recommend someone getting a pet for a different diagnosis. So getting a pet, can be therapeutic. So, but it depends on the person's situation before they would get a pet. You would have to analyze your own situation, know if you can afford a pet or if your living accommodations can do a pet. So definitely something to think about. Taking a walk, something as simple as taking a walk is self-care. Taking a walk does is it helps in so many different areas. You can focus when you're walking, you can process your thoughts, you're getting exercise in your body. So there's so many benefits in just doing something as simple as taking a walk. Being organized, and being organized can be in your professional life, it can be in your personal life, just being organized and being able to strategize, being organized with your thoughts, being organized with your plans, being organized with your ideas. All of these things are a form of self care. Read a book. Reading a book. Reading a book provides knowledge. It takes you away from the current situation because for the time that you're reading, you're engaged in something else. So, reading a book is definitely another form of self care. And journaling. I don't know how many of you journal, but journal is a very good form of self care. Journal, you are putting on paper your thoughts and your feelings. It's helping you to process. It's helping you to not internalize those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings that are going through. You're putting them on paper. And some people, what they do, they kind of reflect later on at the journey that they have overcome from journaling. So, journaling can be a healthy form of self care. Scheduling time for yourself. Scheduling time for yourself. Today, let's say Saturday between 3 and 4, or Saturday between 5 and 6, I'm going to do this for myself without no disruption. And you let people know I'm busy. I'm busy during this time. Do not call me. I will not be available doing this during this time. And respect your time. If you say that you're going to do this block of time for yourself, turn your phone off. Put your phone on vibrate or something so that you yourself are not distracted and disrupted. So make an intentional decision. Music, whatever form, whatever genre of music you listen to, music is very therapeutic. Music, you can listen to music almost anywhere, on the go, at home, in the shower, wherever you can listen to music. Music is very therapeutic. Prayer. Prayer is a great form of self care. Okay. Why is prayer a great form of self care? Because you're spending time, you're connecting with God. You're connecting with God. You're bringing your burdens. You're laying your burdens before God, and you're saying, God, take it. I cannot handle this. Take this, or help me with this, or order my steps, or lead me. So prayer can be a form of self care. Meditation. There are different ways to meditate. I'm sorry, I said medicate, but there are different ways to meditate. People can do prayer and meditation. People can do music and meditation. So there are different ways to meditate, but the goal is to identify identify your way of self-care and make an intentional decision to self-care. So after all of this, how do you self-care? I would love to know, what form of self-care do you use? What techniques do you use? If it's one that I mentioned, feel free to drop it in the link. If it's a new one, just please feel free, share your ideas, share your thoughts, drop your comments, and let me know, how do you self-care? Take care, everyone, and I will be talking to you soon. And of course, go ahead and engage in self care. Remember the self care.